this is the first time CBS has done a Cowboys playoff game since the 1993 NFC Championship game, the Cowboys and the Niners. Growing up, do you recall what memories do you have of those playoff rivalries, particularly the games in the 90s, or were you too busy playing basketball in January?
That's a good call, Bill. You know my history well. No, I can remember. I mean, playoff football, like I said, is such a big deal, but those games, it almost felt like during that time, it was always going to be like the season would go on, but you're like the Niners and the Cowboys were going to end up playing against each other. And it was almost like they were battling for home field advantage back then. It was like, these are the two teams that we're going to come down to, and whichever one's going to come out of the NFC, it was going to be one of the two of them. And it was like whoever got home field was going to win that year. It almost felt like. So the regular season was such a big deal back then. But yeah, those were huge games. I mean, it's just such a treat to be able to have that again, and these two franchises back where they are, and to be in this position. I mean, this is going to be fun. I'm telling you, I'm excited to do this game.
Yeah, I bet. Pat Summerall and John Madden did that NFC Championship.
That's right. You're right.
Of 94. I listen to you as a broadcaster, and I hear some John Madden in there. And I wonder if you as a kid growing up, just listening to Madden, even on a subconscious level, that it seems to me it bleeds through in your broadcasting. Occasionally you have a boom and a pow and that sort of thing. The style is somewhat similar. What do you think?
Well, I'm honored and humbled at anything that compares me to John Madden, because he's the standard in our industry, no question. So that makes me feel good when you say something like that. But I think you're right. I think that, like you said, it's almost through osmosis. The more you hear something, or the more you're around something, you'll take from it without even knowing it. And you talked about it subconscious. You just love the sound, and you loved his passion for the game. And when he passed, I know it resonated. There was a lot of friends and family and people who knew him at CBS that we had a lot of long talks about. But yeah, I think that's part of it. I think I just love the game of football, and I want other people to understand it and maybe love it a little bit the way I do. And I try and just exude that on air, because I just know how important these games are for the players, the coaches, the people in the organization. It's such a big deal, every single game throughout the season. And then you get in the playoffs and it's just ramped up times 10. And it's like, it affects lives. I mean, kids, families, where they're going to go next year. Like, when you're successful, everyone's okay. And when you're not, it just changes lives. So I just want to exude that a little bit on there.
Yeah. And of course, Jim has a lot of Pat in him, I think. Yeah. All right. So what is it that intrigues you the most about this matchup?
Well, I think the interesting thing is just that these two teams both have the ability, they have the talent to go far. The Niners played in a really tough division. And so when you look at it, going into the season, you'd have thought Seattle, the Seahawks, were a team that could have been at the top because they had Russell Wilson, and he was banged up for a little bit, but that history there, they were at the bottom of the division, and it shows you the talent and the coaching in their division. You had the Rams, who were obviously really Cardinals of the year, and then you got the Niners, who were just kind of right there in the middle, and then they snuck in at the end. But when you look at it, this team is really talented. The Niners and the Cowboys are two of the more talented teams in the National Football League. And so they could win any game they play. Neither one of these teams is going to take a backseat talent-wise to anybody in the NFL. You could argue both these teams are in the top 5 with that. But coaching comes down to it, and then certain players are going to need to make plays at the end of this football game to win it. And that's what's going to happen in a lot of these playoff games.
All right, just breaking down Dan Quinn's defense against the Kyle Shanahan offense. How do you see that?
Well, I think that's going to be, to me, the key to the game is if the Cowboys can stop the Niners' run game. And basically, they run an outside zone scheme, which means they go outside toward the tight end, and then they can cut back, they can stay outside and keep going. But it's a Shanahan type of system, and Kyle Shanahan is a great coach, one of the best in the National Football League. And then Dan Quinn is also one of the best defensive coordinators, and what a huge they did by bringing him in as a defensive coordinator. I mean, our coaching staff, the coordinators are really special. I mean, we'll be lucky to keep them both, after this year, because they're both going to be wanted by everybody. But I feel like they need to stop the run first. If they can slow that down, and you'll tell on the first drive or two, if the Cowboys aren't slowing that outside zone run game, then the Niners are going to be in position to do whatever they want with the rest of their offense. But if you can slow that down early, all of a sudden you can turn them into a passing team and a drop back team, and that gives you a chance to be successful.
Okay, as a quarterback, as a competitor, would you throw at Trevon Diggs?
I would throw at him, but I would have certain routes I would throw at him. I think what you want to do is you want to double move him, because anybody who has that many interceptions, anybody who's that gifted as he is, because he's really talented, means that they have great instincts. And so they're able to read leverage. They're able to read splits by the wide receiver. He's a little tighter, and he can understand concepts. And so you use that against him. And so you start to give him this, split here, and you do this, like he's going to have an in-breaking cut, and then you stop and then you go deep. So I would actually double move him consistently. And then after you double move him a couple of times, then I would go back to throwing it normal, because he's too good to just run routes normal. He's gonna be right there, and he's a ball hawk. He's gonna get the ball if it's around him.
Well, what impresses you the most about Jimmy G? Let me tell you, his toughness in playing through this this thumb injury, the toughness that he plays the quarterback position reminds me of another guy from Eastern Illinois,
Sean Payton. Yes,
or Shanahan.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the over/under on how many times Nance mentions Eastern Illinois in this?
Yeah, that's a good call. I haven't talked to him about that, but I have a feeling it's going to come up a time or two. Yeah, I think you're right. The biggest thing that's not talked about from the quarterback position is, are you willing to stand in? And obviously, when you're injured, play through it. But your ability to stand in and take hits and be tough. And I think, like, going back to like a guy like Tom Brady, that's one of the most not talked about things, is his ability to take it over and over again and still stay calm in the pocket. And I think that's going to be a key to the game for Jimmy, because the Cowboys, I mean, they're loaded on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. They got talent everywhere, and you're going to get hit, and you're going to get hit repeatedly over and over again. Can Jimmy just stand in there and take it, and then still the next time, 3, 4, 5 plays later, take it again, and not start to speed up his own internal clock, but stay calm, go through the progressions, and that'll give you a chance, because the Cowboys are going to speed up your internal clock. It's going to happen. They're too good not to.
All right, Kellen, how important is this playoff run for Kellen Moore? If he has a big playoff run, do you expect him to still be with the Cowboys next year?
I don't think the playoff run matters much for Kellen Moore. I mean, I think it matters for the Cowboys and the fans and everyone rooting for them and the team and organization. But for Kellen Moore, I think he's gone. I think he's going to get a head coaching job this year. I think he's very special. I think it was a really great job by the Jones family of keeping him around and elevating him to that position years ago. So I think you're seeing the last days of him. But I think he's been a great gift to this organization.
All right, what do you make of the Cowboys offense, the strong start through the New England game? Of course, Dak didn't have an injury, and the second half of the season, the numbers aren't the same as what they were early in the season. What do you make of what's gone on with this offense?
Well, I think teams have actually tried to take away the big play. And so what happened early in the year is a lot of single high coverage, and teams were trying to stop the run. And as the season moved on, I think they did a better job of blitzing and hiding the coverage. So the biggest thing I've seen watching the tape is that the Cowboys are so good at getting to the right place. So they do a great job. Dak understands defensive philosophy, and he understands their concepts on offense and how to get to the right play. So they're always in a winnable situation before the snap. And teams have done a good job of disguising that. And so they make them play after the snap. And now you're having to read the field, after, like post snap. Whereas the Cowboys are so good at, like I said, getting to the right play, but also knowing where to go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, boom, boom, boom. But as soon as they do stuff after the ball is snapped, they're out of position for a second. But all of a sudden, now you've got to say, oh, it turned into this coverage. Then you've got to read it, on the fly. And I think that's been something teams have had a little success with, the teams who do it well. And then you put a lot of guys up around the box and you drop different people out. And that's been the biggest thing I've seen, is that they're daring you to run the football. If the Cowboys go back to running the football, I really think they'll have a good chance to win all these playoff games. If they try and just sprinkle it in, I think it can be tough by the way teams are, trying to attack them.
How about the journey for Dak here, especially in the last year? Looking back at the Giants game last year, laying on the turf there at AT&T Stadium, you've been in that position before as a Cowboys quarterback, where your season is basically over with an injury situation. You come back and have success. Dak has been able to do it in a 1-year window here. How impressed have you been with Dak over the last year?
Well, I've just been impressed with Dak from the beginning. I mean, he's really learned the game. He's really tried to, because the best quarterbacks start to understand the game like a coach. They start to understand concepts and how teams are attacking you, and you understand the plays to get you, because you have so much control. The quarterback really does have, in certain systems, I should say, because when you're younger, you really don't have that ability. But if you really grab a hold of this thing, you have the ability to get to the right play consistently. But a lot of it's based on your judgment of what you think is coming and mannerisms of the defense, the way they're aligned, leverage. And so you can really help your team with that. I think Dak has done a great job of learning the game and understanding it like a coach. And that gives them a huge advantage. That's why they get to so many good plays before the snap. The biggest thing is always going to come down to the ability to read it after the fact, because I think that's what's happened. Like we said, just teams have done a good job of disguising, and your ability to read it on the fly is going to really be the reason why they're able to go to the Super Bowl this year, if they can get there.
All right, finally, something that you touched on earlier, when you look at Dak, wrong or right, quarterbacks' careers defined by what they do a lot of times in the postseason, but
Yep.
Also as the quarterback of this team. You've been in this position before. You had 4 cracks at it in the postseason. Dak, this is his 3rd crack at it. And when you look at the storied history of this franchise, and now 26 years since the team has been and won a Super Bowl, what's Dak feeling right now? Is the pressure real? He says he embraces it. Put it in perspective.
No, it's definitely real, but I think the pressure is always there to win a football game. I mean, the playoffs, you want to be great and you want to be considered one of the best. So these are the games that matter more than, all the others that you've played this season, and you're going to be defined by it in a lot of ways. And that's one of the great things about our sport, is that these games are just put up on such a pedestal, as it should be. But I think the difference right now is that he has a defense, and to have a defense like this who's getting turnovers and who can get the ball back, I mean, that is rare. It's just go back and look through, statistically, to have a top 5 defense, number 1 on 3rd down, a defense that creates so many turnovers. I mean, this is just rare, and that doesn't happen all the time. And you like to think it's going to continue, but you never know. And to have that, you got to take advantage, because that just doesn't come around. You can go back the last 20 years, and this is this might be the best defense they've had going into the playoffs in a long time. And they've had a couple other good ones, but this one really stands out, from a turnover perspective. And they have the ability to rush the passer. They have the ability, the front 7, but the back end is so good. It's rare. And I think that actually should make you calmer as a quarterback, that you don't have to do too much. Because other times you actually do have to do a little more to win football games, because your defense will get scored upon and you're not getting turnovers. But when you have a defense like this, you can actually take a break and say, okay, it's 3rd and 7. It's the 2nd quarter. You don't have to fit that ball in there. If it's there, you take it and you rip it. But it's okay to take a breath and be like, that's too tight. This could be a turnover. You could play smart and you can rely on that side of the ball. And that's a huge gift. That's why I think the Cowboys have a real chance this year.
Well, and you look at the Cowboys of the Super Bowl teams of the 90s and going back to the
Yeah.
70s, they had great defenses. You know what real pressure, though, is? The numbers on your Thanksgiving Day CBS broadcast were the greatest in over 30 years, over 40
Yeah.
million. The real pressure is in that broadcast booth.
Oh, way
Tony
more.
Tim Nance on Sunday afternoon, don't you think? No
I
telling how.
agree with you. I'm like, I'm too nervous. Dak's got nothing right now. I'm telling you, I'm just, I'm shaking right here. So hopefully I can live up to it this week. But this is a real pleasure to be able to do this game. I'm really excited. Like you said, Bill, I was so excited when I heard we're doing this game because, you know, just being a part of it. I know how big playoff games are. And then to have played for the Cowboys and just know how big this is to everybody. And I know some of the Niners and their coaching staff and some of the people there. I mean, this is a huge moment in all their lives. And I just feel humbled and honored to be able to call it.
You're so nervous you spent this afternoon on the golf course.
Yes, exactly right.
All right. All right, Tony. Hey, we appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Bill. Appreciate you guys.
All right. Thanks.
Bye.